The Biden administration is banning a popular type of light bulb. Starting today, manufacturers and retailers that sell incandescent and halogen light bulbs will be facing federal fines. The administration is instead pushing LED bulbs. The Energy Department says other kinds of bulbs waste too much energy. The federal agency says the bulb switch will save consumers around $3 billion per year on energy bills and cut carbon emissions. But the residential energy consumption survey says fewer than half of households reported using LED bulbs. The Energy Department has reversed a Trump-era rule protecting incandescent bulbs and consumer choice of lighting options. Consumer groups have also said that the perceived climate benefits of the new energy efficiency rules are, quote, speculative, assumption-driven, and prone to bias in the hands of agencies with a regulatory agenda.
Biden's special presidential envoy for climate, the former Senator John Kerry, has declared that it's time to follow in Holland's footsteps and crack down on privately owned farms to fight climate change. According to Kerry, the United States must massively reduce farming to meet the radical green agenda goals laid out by the WEF and the United Nations.
A lot of people have no clue that agriculture contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world. Depending a little bit on how you count it, but it's anywhere from 26 to 33. And we can't get to net zero. We don't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution. So all of us understand here the depths of this mission.
But most people are still refusing to understand the real depths of this mission and who exactly is pulling Kerry's puppet strings. Delivering these remarks at the Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate Summit held in Washington, D.C., Kerry neglected to acknowledge the undeniable fact that the agriculture industry plays a vital role in providing sustenance and ensuring the survival of all 8 billion people worldwide. According to Kerry, America must follow the WEF blueprint for eradicating farmers to meet the green agenda goals laid out by the globalist elite. Kerry claims that the agricultural sector needs innovation now more than ever. We're facing record malnutrition at a time when agriculture, more than any other sector, is suffering from the impacts of the climate crisis. The answer to malnutrition, according to Kerry and his masters in the WEF, is a diet rich in insects, bugs and crickets, and extremely low in meat, vegetables, grains, nuts and fruits, the foods that have nourished humanity since the dawn of time. And the answer to the climate crisis, according to Kerry, is handing over our sovereignty to the global elite. This is the same Kerry who in 2021 hysterically warned that humanity only had 9 years left to avoid a cataclysmic event brought on by climate change. You can be sure that that date will come and go with Kerry's prediction unfulfilled. Modern doomsayers have been predicting climate and environmental disaster since the 1960s. They continue to do so despite being proved wrong time and time again. None of the apocalyptic predictions with due dates as of today have come true. Despite being categorically and repeatedly wrong about everything, Kerry and the climate cultists are doubling down and declaring the time is now to seize private property and hand it over to the global elite.
And I refuse to call it climate change anymore. It's not change, it's a crisis. We're beyond the concept of just change, and we can manage the change. And without action, millions of lives and livelihoods are going to be at risk. There are scientists who will tell you today that the probability of a large portion of Africa that is a huge food supplier to the continent could implode in terms of its agricultural capacity if we don't get control of what we're doing.
Listen closely to his words. If we don't get control of what we are doing. The WEF-infiltrated country of Ireland has announced plans to slaughter millions of cows as part of a plan to reduce the country's greenhouse gas emissions. Not only that, but the taxpayer will be footing the bill to cull the cows. Talk about sadistic. Not only are the WEF forcing the Irish government to incinerate their cows, they are making the people pay for it. This is a pattern that is emerging in WEF-conquered countries. The global elite reduce the quality of life for ordinary people, and they rub their noses in it while doing so. In Canada, the Trudeau government has made a plan to reduce emissions from agriculture, of which the sector contributed 10% to the nation's CHG emissions in 2019, punishing farmers and pushing them to the brink of bankruptcy by forcing them to reduce their use of nitrogen fertilizer, even though Canada is already among the most sustainable growers in the world. According to the WEF-penetrated Canadian government, if the farmers don't like being reduced to poverty and becoming reliant on government welfare, they can always apply to be euthanized by the state. The Netherlands launched a plan to seize vast swathes of farmland to supposedly reduce emissions from agriculture by buying and closing farms and restricting the use of nitrogen fertilizer. These are dark and dangerous times. The last time a government embarked on a large-scale farm seizure program, the country was plunged into a man-made famine. Robert Mugabe's Zimbabwean government seized large swathes of land from white farmers in the country, triggering a rapid downturn in the country's economy. The United States and Europe are not Africa, but forcibly seizing farmland for any reason is always a bad idea and always has disastrous consequences for ordinary people. Zimbabwe went from being an agricultural export powerhouse, known as the breadbasket of Africa, to having to rely on handouts from the United Nations World Food Programme. Hyperinflation, famine, and a multi-decade economic depression followed. This is exactly what the global elite have planned for us. The Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, a close friend and confidant of Klaus Schwab, has made it clear what the global elite are planning for us. The policy to bankrupt small farmers and forcibly buy the rest out is well underway. So what comes next? According to Rutte, the global food supply will be controlled by the WEF, with 4 global food hubs controlled by Bill Gates, America's top owner of farmland, and the largest farming corporations on the planet.
So the role of businesses in the agri-food sector should be stimulated and enabled to create scalable solutions. And here I'd like to highlight a World Economic Forum initiative in this regard, the World Economic Forum Food Innovation Hubs. And these hubs in Africa, in Asia, in South America and in Europe will allow businesses to connect regional stakeholders to skill innovations, because this is key, skill innovations that can address food systems challenges. And here I'm particularly proud to announce that the Netherlands will host the Global Coordinating Secretariat of the World Economic Forum Food Innovation Hubs, which will connect all other food innovation hubs. And I believe this is important because it will be facilitating to create the partnerships we need.
How terrible for the good people of Holland to be under evil fascist WEF control, and only 78 years after the end of the Nazi regime. But if we're not careful, the new fascism will have even worse consequences for the people of the world. The Dutch Prime Minister gave us an insight into the stakeholder capitalism model that Klaus Schwab has been promoting in the lecture halls of Davos for decades. A few huge corporations will be merged with the government, which is penetrated and controlled by the global elite. And we, the peons who have been allowed to survive, will be fully subservient and reliant on the elites. These psychopaths think that they have it all worked out. But there's just one problem for John Kerry, Justin Trudeau, Mark Rutte, and their globalist cronies. We're onto them. We've been exposing their lies and failed predictions for years. Mainstream media is refusing to hold the elite to account, so we've had to fill the breach. And we are succeeding in our goals. With every passing day, more and more people are waking up, and thanks to people like yourself who are spreading the word, the global elite's plans are starting to fall apart at the seams.
When economies collapse, political regimes fail. When political regimes fail, they start wars to try and hold on to power. Economies all over the world are failing right now because fiat currencies have been overprinted, overborrowed, and inflated. The USA has been falling deeper into debt every year since probably World War I, and that debt is now at a breaking point. We've gone a long time without a major world war because we have nukes now and war is no longer a good idea. But economic and political conditions are so badly deteriorated that war may no longer be avoidable. The Ukraine war looks like an old-fashioned war with soldiers, tanks, planes, conventional weapons just blasting away at each other. There's a lot of talk about how the Ukraine conflict could explode into World War with nukes. I would argue that World War III started well before the Ukraine conflict. With the nukes, the collapsing economies, the technological advancements, war now has a completely different look and feel. Not the Ukraine war, the world war. The war nobody's talking about. The world economy, nearly all countries, are in shambles, and creating a large and sustained industrial war-making infrastructure is probably now impossible for most countries. On the other hand, technology has advanced dramatically, and it is now possible to destroy another country with weather modification. Droughts, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. And if that doesn't work, how about a pandemic? There are also psychological operations, cyber attacks, or sabotage that can bring down banks, currencies, utility, infrastructure, you name it. Countries have been destroyed by simply taking a loan from the IMF. Then you have infiltration, where, for instance, China has been placing officials in American government agencies and corporate offices since Nixon visited China in 1972. Control of media and public policy communications, propaganda are now so advanced that your enemy can put a video online that looks exactly like your own president saying or doing something that your president never has said or done. The public is now flooded with psyops and misinformation, so I'm sorry to tell you, you have no idea what is true or false anymore except when your own dog needs to go outside. So with all those new technologies, economic stresses, political tensions, war is now a very different thing. While the Ukraine has been attacked with relatively conventional weapons, conventional warfare, the rest of the developed world has been at war in a whole new way. China, Russia, and USA are modifying the weather and destroying each other's food supply. Censorship, propaganda, and psyops are out of control everywhere, and nobody knows which way is up. Civilian populations are the direct target of these wars, and traditional military interventions may not even be a part of any modern war. Nations are playing pandemics and lockdowns against each other, and make no mistake, both pandemics and lockdowns are acts of war. Lockdowns destroy economies, businesses, and society. If you are being locked down, you are being attacked. The lockdown is the attack. Whoever tells you that you cannot leave your home, run a business, or see your family members is your enemy. And we need to stop seeing that with such clouded vision. When you hear that over 100 major food processing plants have been sabotaged and destroyed over a few months' time, your nation is being attacked. When you hear of train derailments and railroad companies refusing to ship fertilizer, your nation's being attacked. When you hear that your government food inspectors have ordered the slaughter and disposal of millions of food animals, chickens, pigs, and cows, your nation is being attacked. Have you noticed that as they have ordered the destruction of food animals, they are introducing lab-grown fake meat, which can contain any chemical germ or poison they want to feed you? Could this be part of some kind of plan? When you see your president telling you that you can no longer have a gas stove, a generator, a gasoline-burning car, or a gun to defend your home, your nation is under attack. Your president is working for the enemy. Is it that surprising that someone could get to someone as feeble-minded as Joe Biden? When you're not even allowed to investigate or question election fraud, your nation's under attack. When your own government prints money out to the point of inflating the currency, your nation is under attack. It's not new. German currency was destroyed in World War II by counterfeiting. Money printing has the same effect as counterfeiting. YouTube and Facebook have deplatformed people for what? Disagreeing with the World Health Organization? How is that happening? We need to wake up. Our government, our media, our Congress, and President have turned against us. World War III is one of infiltration, sabotage, misinformation, self-destruction. Whether it's China, Russia, or aliens from outer space, something is attacking the USA. We can no longer pretend that is not happening. We're having food shortages in the USA, and this is just the beginning. They're not attacking our military. They're attacking us, the civilian population, the civilian infrastructure, the civilian food supply and economy. Something is attacking everything that makes our nation function. and it is dismantling our way of life right before our eyes. And because they're using our own government and media to do it, we refuse to believe it. We have cognitive dissonance. Well, if my own government's attacking me, who'll protect me? To me, it looks like the only person that will protect you is you, Bubba. If someone comes to you and tells you to kill and dispose of all your food animals, you tell that person to get off your property inside 30 seconds. And you make a plan what you will do to that person if they don't do what you tell them. It's called resistance. It saved France in World War II, and it might be the only thing that saves you and your family in the near future. When someone tells us to lock down, stay at home, take an experimental shot, whatever, we need to learn to just say no. As they say, when we fear government, we are in slavery. When government fears us, we have liberty. Maybe we can figure out why our own government is attacking us. Maybe we can fix that. In the meantime, it doesn't really matter. We're being attacked, and we need to do something about it. Expecting government to fix things is probably not your best plan. Please share this video.